the
no,
time.
twice today. There she is.
Okay, it is April 2nd. It is 3 p.m. This meeting of the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission is called to order, and we will start with taking roll.
Oh, I don't have Susan Brown. Is she an attendee?
Susan is not with us.
Oh, she is.
Oh.
She's an attendee. But I'll go ahead and take roll while
Oh, okay.
Susan comes in. Commissioner Altman,
Here.
Commissioner Borges,
Here.
Commissioner Inscore,
Here.
Commissioner Greeno, Commissioner Howard,
Here.
Chair Short.
And I am here. If you would all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we'll enter into our public comment period. Do we have any public joining us online? Not today. Seeing no public, we will forego the public comment period and adjourn to the Policy Advisory Committee and move on to our consent agenda for Policy Administrative, which includes our minutes of February 6th. We have any corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
We got a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Right on, the minutes are approved. Okay, moving on to Policy Administrative. Item B, adopt a resolution approving the 24-25 overall work program. And Tamara, take it away.
Take it away. Boom. Let me get to, did you see the hot links in here? I've been doing that, if you guys haven't noticed, on the agenda. So you can click on the front page and it'll
Appreciate
jump
that.
down to the agenda item.
I thought you were referring to a sausage.
Those are
That
very,
was,
those are very nice, but it did not work
Right.
on my end. That's
that was Commissioner Borges who said, hey, let's do this. And I said, absolutely, I used to do it. So this is our standard item of adopting the overall work program. We've talked about the overall work program. The TAC has went through all of the work elements in the overall work program. A lot of this year's work program is carrying over from the current year into next year. As Tasha knows, I found this comment letter this year making me especially cranky because they were asking for things that were already in there. Some of the things I just stated twice. The comments, even though Tasha signs the comment letter, most of the comments come from Caltrans headquarters. So year over year, you just don't know what you're going to get. Somebody else reads it, you get a different flavor.
so Tasha gets the blame for that, or I
No.
was going to give her kudos for such a
No,
a
she-
thorough review of the
She-
overall work program.
She doesn't have to take the kudos and she doesn't have to take the blame.
Okay.
I'm just trying to explain the process.
Gotcha.
And in some ways I think about why not just do everything they say that's in there. But I have to pull back from that because first of all, I have to remember who I work for. And I work for the community. I work for the 5-6 of you. And, but I also have to remember that it's work that represents me. And if I think it's wrong, I have a commitment to try to make it right. So, it would be easier if I just went la 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 and did everything and made the changes and went on with it. But then it starts to give me a twinge in my stomach and in my head and whatever. So then and I go through this cycle. So just as there's a danger in just doing everything that you're told to do. Or a risk, maybe not a danger. But it feels dangerous to me to just go down that path of robot, I'm just gonna do everything they say to do. Part of the risk is that we get a different reviewer next year, you've changed the format to your overall work program, and then somebody says, why are you doing it this way? Why are you stating it twice? And it's like, that's some of the comments. I just said, I'm just gonna do this, but in other areas I said, I can't really do this. I think that all of the changes are clear. they're going to be clear to Caltrans. I mean, there's always a possibility that I get the overall work program back from Caltrans and they say, you know, it's not good enough and we have to come back again and readopt it, because there's a chance that they could withhold the funding for some of the things. The area that concerned me the most were all of the areas where it says must. You must this, you must that. And not, it's a good idea if, or could you make it more clear that, or format this differently because it matches, or I don't know what. But there were a lot of musts in there for things that were already done or that, you know, were done a little bit differently and, in my opinion, made it more clear rather than less clear. So we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to sort of take this moment to explain that, you know, I really do take a good look at the comment letter and think about it and have this little crazy cycle in my head about what to do and not to do, and end up hashing it out, hopefully in a way that will go forward, that, you know, Tasha and Caltrans headquarters can live with. I've never had one rejected, but, you know, as I get older and crankier, it could happen. So that's the overall work program. You've seen the work elements before. There's nothing new in there. You know, the budget is essentially the same. There's, I'm sure, been a little bit of a shift here and there, but nothing significant. And I think we're good to go on it.
Very good. Tasha, do you want to defend yourself a little bit? Or
It's not her.
Yeah, I know.
A bit. Sorry, Tasha.
I'm just kidding. Uh-oh, we can't hear you,
Muted.
Tasha. Doesn't show that you're muted.
Welcome to.
Yeah, her little, oh, there we go. Yes, there we
That's
go.
it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, no, I think just a lot of this comes from the regional planning handbook, so it's just mandated through the guidance, and we took a look at what was proposed here in the agenda package and think it looked fine, so I think that there's gonna be no problem moving forward.
Good deal. Thanks, Tasha, I appreciate that. Okay, still no public online with us?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll forego public comment and bring it back to the board for any questions, comments, or a motion.
I'd move that we adopt the resolution approving the 2024-25 overall work program.
Got a motion, is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
We have a second. Will you poll the vote, please?
Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Altman,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore,
Yes.
Tasha Alston,
Yes.
and Chair Short.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on to our next item, which is electronic access for public meetings and public comments.
So this is similar to the conversations that the city and county have had. If we want to continue to receive public comment, then by Zoom, then we're going to need to make a significant contribution to keep the level of Zoom account that the county has been sharing with us since the beginning of COVID. If we're going to want to make the same change that the city and county have already made, then I will need to note on the agenda that public comments can be submitted in writing or show up in person. The Zoom is for watching the meeting, not actively participating in the meeting. This won't change, however, the way that Tasha Alstrand, as an example, can participate. Other Caltrans folks, anybody who we're bringing in, a consultant coming in, you know, if we wanted a presentation by the auditors, heaven's sakes, I can't imagine, but, you know, whoever, anybody we want to invite to join the meeting as a panelist, like Tasha is today, that will continue. But the whole public access, public comment, keeping those things separate. So are we going to go on the path of the city and county, or are we going to stay on the path that we've been on? And that's the question.
Okay. Bring it to the board for any comments?
I don't see any reason for us to continue doing public engagement on Zoom for the Transportation Commission. If the city and county have made this decision, I can't imagine why we would want to do anything any different. I think consistency for our community to know this is the way it works. If you submit a comment or come to the meeting.
Yeah, I agree. After making those decisions on both sides of the council and the board, I can't see the same members of those two entities making a different decision right here, but I'm open to any comments from the board otherwise. Okay, having no public, going to forego public comment and be open to a motion at this time, barring any more comments.
So moved. That work?
Make a motion that we forego the public
I will
participation
second that motion.
via Zoom. And we have a second by Mr. Borges. So Susan, would you poll the vote, please?
We just need all in favor.
Oh, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I didn't hear any no ayes. Okay. Tasha, what do you think? You just sat there quiet. That's great. Okay. The discussion items, economic summit and our milestones report.
So
Cameron?
I don't know who we is, me and my puppy. We've been invited to speak at the Economic Summit and to bring Caltrans folks in to talk about some of the significant projects. The community continues to be concerned about the Dr. Fine Bridge replacement, and that will be one of the bigger items. We'll probably do very brief update on last chance grade. It's not going to be a last chance grade focused. That's, in the environmental phase, and we can give a brief update because we would be hunted down if we didn't, but that's not the focus of that. So we're going to, I'm planning on introducing the topic of the climate change adaptation planning grant that we're working on that will cover South Beach. I'll take maybe 2 or 3 minutes on that. And I want to do a lightning round like our state senator does. And so we'll have a quick lightning round. It'll switch over to Caltrans to do a detailed presentation about Dr. Fine, a couple other things, and we'll be done. Boom, in and out. It will be 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes is my goal. I think we're allotted 30 minutes. I want to keep it well under that. Because everybody's happy with you at the Economic Summit if you can contribute a couple of minutes, and I'd rather people be happy with me. And it also gives us ample time to answer questions from the community, and I think that that's an important time. It's an important time for people to have an opportunity to ask a question and get an answer especially with that group of 150 people in the room. So that's my Economic Summit.
Sounds good. Any questions about the Economic Summit? Okay, let's move on to milestones.
So the milestones report is in your agenda packet. I sometimes get questions about where we are on this project, where we are on that project. I'm happy to answer the questions, but I go to the milestones report and look it up. So
It's a great reference.
You all are welcome to send me an email, send me a text message, whatever, but that's my first resource to finding information about something. So if you need more information than is in the milestones report, then I'll reach out to staff and provide that information. But that's, yeah, just keep an eye on the milestones report especially if you're tracking a project.
Sure.
It's a good place to track a project. They are going to change it, by the way, and it's something that I am going to talk to Caltrans Planning about, and that they are removing some of the earlier phases and only having a construction start time, not the environmental design right-of-way. Each is a phase, so you have environmental design right-of-way, then construction of 4 phases, and we could slip in the litigation phase in there too. But
Oof,
yeah. That's...
Hopefully we won't need to. Wishful thinking, I know.
But they're going to just have it as the initial information and then when the construction starts. And so I suppose when I need more information from that during that time, then I would have to reach out to the project manager. The project manager's written right on that milestones report, so that's easy enough for me to do. But in the next milestones report, it's going to be a little bit different in that each of those phases are not going to be in the report.
There is one project that is behind schedule. Is it just easy to assume that it's caught up in litigation, or is there the
No.
Hardscrabble Creek?
That's not something to assume, is that it's about litigation.
Okay, so-
I
yeah, it's just-
definitely would not make that assumption.
Because I thought we replaced that bridge a while ago, and I didn't know. Oh, it has to do with near the Hardscrabble Creek Bridge. Oh, it's high friction surface treatment.
Yeah,
So
so it could be weather related, it could be about getting the materials, the high friction surface treatment is, it's sort of a special product. We're going to be, I expect that we're going to be using more and more of it over time rather than less and less, because it does really seem to work in our community with our 142% of normal rainfall.
right. And we're not that far behind on that one, just to be clear.
But it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you need certain conditions to put the HFST down. I expect that weather might be getting the product. It could be anything like that. It's not, but assuming that it's litigation is not fair.
Good deal.
Oh, and Tasha's
Yeah.
got her hands up.
Gosh, it's got her hands up, and yeah, I'm sure wet roads aren't the best to put high friction surface treatment down on. But go ahead, Tasha.
Yeah, just a few updates on the milestone report in general, and then for the one in question here, it's a minor review project, and some of those minor review projects, they're faster paced, so they are running behind their quicker timeline, so it could be anything, but I could check back on that. But as far as the milestone reports go, we're making a bunch of different improvements to it, but we really do make these reports for you all, so I want to hear what you want to see, because we can be flexible and make them to what you want. But some of the improvements that we're working on is we're going to be separating out the list of the project initiation documents. So that would be, the first step in the project development process. You'd be able to see that right away. The report itself has been pretty simplified. The projects are now sorted by route, which is really nice, because before they were sorted by like an EA number, which wasn't very helpful. Only the crucial milestones are listed. So like Tamara mentioned, the construction begins and when it ends, but that information is all still available to you. It's just not on this report, but there's a live link that we can put on the report if you want to dig into it and find out that information. And then we're also developing a corresponding map. So that map's going to just show an overview of the projects in the region, and then those numbers correspond with the numbers in the milestone reports. So it's all sorted by phase: construction, PS&E, PA&ED, and then the PID. So we're just continuing to improve these, but are always taking feedback on what you want to see so that we can make those improvements. Just let me know.
Thank you, Tasha. And I apologize. I did not read that completely, so apologize to the group for that question, and appreciate your input and the information.
If I could, I
Yes.
like the idea of having a live link on the PDF file. So since Tasha offered, I really like that idea.
I can say I'd agree with that
Sure.
too.
You know,
Sure.
you want to dig deeper, you click on the link and it brings you
No,
to
it
whatever.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yep.
Did you have something?
Anybody from
Getting ready.
the commission have questions on this?
I
Go
just
ahead.
have one, regarding the microsurfacing through town. I see that it's scheduled to begin June 30th. If I was to make one request, it would be to push that a week until we get through the 4th of July. Staging, even early staging, given just the number of people who come into town that week. If we could stage it, if we could look at a start date made of July 8th, the following week, that would probably be better for us.
I expect Tasha can look into that too, but generally if the construction start date is June 30th, you're not going to see equipment on the ground
Okay.
on June 30th.
Okay.
It
Just,
takes some time to get from the construction start date to actually a shovel in the ground kind of thing. There's going to be some delay there, but we can follow up with that
you.
definitely.
Good
What
catch.
was the project number for that?
let me,
Is that the
I gotta
mic-
follow it back across here.
Is that the microsurfing seeing that's north of town, or?
It goes all the way from Washington Boulevard to Elk Valley.
Elk Valley Crossroads, so that's.
It is 010M670.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission members here about milestones? Nope, seeing none. Okay. Thank you, Tasha, for your input, and Blake, appreciate that. Do we have any policy advisory committee comments and reports? Anybody at the dais?
I've got-
Chris, go right ahead.
I've got a couple. First is two significant movements on 101 that are in here, now programmed. Dollar General at Timbers Boulevard on Highway 101 and Rowdy Creek just above that. Two very important safety projects that we've gotten traction on and are programmed. Tamara, correct me on the dates, 2025 and 2026?
I believe so, yeah.
In that order for Dollar General and then Rowdy Creek.
So
But-
if I could add to that, part of the way that we pulled those projects forward and demonstrated to Caltrans they were safety concerns is by looking at the Caltrans, the comment page on the Transportation Commission's website, and then working with our consultant to bring the data in. They bring the collision data into that report anyway, but working with the consultant who helps us with that public comment page on our website where it says you can post a comment anywhere in the county about transportation. So a tool that has already, even just in that one project, but there are other areas too, where you can really pull the data together and print it out in a way that is quick, easy to understand, and meaningful to demonstrate to somebody. We have a collision concentration here that we really need to be taking a look at. So that was a big success for us in having the data together in a way that we could demonstrate a problem area, an area of safety concern in our community. And it was David Morgan at the time, but when we met with him, Chris and I and David Morgan met at that location with the report in hand, that's where things happened for that location. So, if you're ever wondering how that tool is used, that's one of the many ways that we can use that tool.
And then I'll just end the last massive tool, I think, and I really appreciate Caltrans for going out and finding the third-party consultant to do the audit on Highway 199 from basically the tunnel to our intersection with 101. We just finished our edits, internal edits, to give back to the consultant. I think that's going to shed a hell of a lot of light on areas that typically get ignored and could seek some improvements on, like, immediately. The other piece that I'm biting my tongue on, Tamara brought this forward and I'm still scratching my head. Maybe Tasha could shed some light. But they have defined a certain percentage of days that our road is wet. Mm-hmm. And our area has an incredibly low percentage of days the road surface is wet. It's 9%. If I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And this definition puzzles the hell out of me, especially given the comments earlier this meeting that we're 147% of rainfall right now. So even if you took just the number of days that it rained here, we well went over a 9% threshold for surface days. That pavement would have been covered in a 365-day calendar year. So somebody needs to look at that definition, how it's coming up with that definition, and maybe look at it a little differently in the context of this report, because those wet days definitely factor in to the safety on that section of highway.
Yeah, but just because it rained in a day doesn't mean the pavement was wet in that time. So, and even if it didn't rain in a day, the pavement could still be wet. Right? I mean, we have wet pavement in places where it hasn't rained in days. It's probably wet right now. It hasn't rained in days, on Highway 199 in the State Park section. It's so.
That way this weekend.
you know, and I'm the one who made this mess, really, because in the report, and it will be coming out as soon as we can get it out, but in the report, it says the percentage of the collisions during wet days versus dry days. And so it'll say, you know, 30% of the collisions were during wet days, or 70%, whatever, you just pick a number, but let's just say. So it leads the reader to believe that the wet days don't have much of an impact on the collision rate. And maybe they do, maybe they don't, but until we know the percentage of time the pavement is wet versus dry, we don't know if that 30% is an overrepresentation or not. If our pavement is wet 30% of the time and the collisions happen 30% of the time, then we can assume that the wet or dry pavement isn't a factor. But if you have 80% of your collisions during wet pavement days and the pavement's only wet 20% of the time, then you have a significant impact of wet pavement. So that's what I was trying to look at. It's like when you read it, the wet versus dry pavement condition can lead you to believe that it may not be that important. So we need that baseline data of how often is the pavement wet to make sense of the wet versus dry pavement data, to get a meaningful comparison. We don't have that yet. I pulled up the only data that I could find, and it's old. It's like, you know, the method that they used is, I don't know, 20 years old. But it does go back, it did go back like 10 years in time or 20 years in time. It went back a long time to figure out the percentage of data. Even in the 9%, our pavement was wet far more than any other county in California for the percentage of time the pavement is wet when you're standing on it. It has to consider the whole county. You know, it is an estimate, but I don't know. I'd like to get to that number somehow, and I'm not quite sure how to do it. So that's the can of worms that I opened. That one's my
That's
fault.
having Chris standing on the pavement in Smith River and Joey standing on the pavement in Fort Dick. And Blake standing on the pavement in the city.
I ain't gonna stand, I'm just gonna pull curtains. Yep, it wet.
You know,
Yeah.
but I mean, if it rained this morning, our pavement outside this office would be dry. So you can have a rain day and a collision on dry pavement in the same day.
True
And that, it's just, it makes it all muddled. I've made it all muddled by asking a question of what's our normal
Well, quit
percentage of
asking
wet
questions.
pavement days.
So now we know to just blame Tamara.
No more
I know,
questions.
I know,
That's it.
I'm a data girl, I want to know the number. So I will continue to try and work on that too.
Okay, anything else from the commission? Tasha said her piece. Okay, we will now adjourn as the Policy Advisory Committee and reconvene as the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission. And by polled vote, approve and adopt the actions taken by the Policy Advisory Committee. And just to double check, we still don't have any public with us?
Nope.
Okay, so.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Inscore
Second.
and a second by Mr. Borges. Can we poll the vote, Susan?
Commissioner Altman,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Borges,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore,
Yes.
Chair Schultz.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will now adjourn until our next regular meeting, May 7th at 3 p.m. right here. Thank you all for being here.